Senator Manchin is really blowing up the internet this time. The latest Build Back Better news in today's stimulus package update and daily news update. We already talked about Manchin saying no to the Build Back Better bill. Now we're going to look at the two ways to read this. Could he just be bluffing here? Biden is set to give a big speech about Omicron and possibly stimulus later this week. Also, later in this video, we're going to hear a quick word from the sponsor of this video. Check out the details in today's video. All the latest stimulus and money news right here on the Ron Yates channel, your #1 source for all things US economy, stimulus, inflation, online businesses. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel, join the financial freedom family, and ring that notification bell. That way you don't miss out on one single important update. Speaking of, let's go ahead and get to the breaking news right now. Major headline today is still Senator Joe Manchin saying no to Biden's Build Back Better stimulus package. Now, we already talked about it in our previous video. Now, here's a quick recap for everyone. Manchin went on an interview and basically torpedoed the Build Back Better Act and all of the stimulus that's inside of it, like the child care funding, universal pre-K, hearing aids for seniors, health insurance for people who are left out of Medicaid, and not to mention taxes on corporations and on the wealthy. Now, in Manchin's words, quote, "I cannot vote to continue with this piece of legislation. I just can't. I've tried everything humanly possible. I can't get there. This is a no on this legislation," end quote. President Biden learned of Manchin's plans only minutes before the TV appearance. He tried getting Manchin on the phone, but he just wasn't picking up. Probably sent that man to voicemail. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. Biden likely didn't like that. The White House quickly sent out a counter statement answering all of Manchin's concerns about inflation and the Congressional Budget Office score. But most interesting of all was Biden specifically instructing his people to add that if Manchin stood by his comments, he had violated his word to the president. They recalled how Biden brought Manchin to his Delaware home to negotiate a deal. The two talked top line numbers and nitty-gritty details on the bill. At one point, Biden even walked Manchin through his lakefront house to show him around. I wonder if he showed Manchin his new Peloton. I don't know. They didn't announce anything back then, but according to the White House now, after this Delaware home meeting, Manchin privately agreed that he would support a framework of Biden's sweeping social and climate plan and work over the next few months to finalize the details. They also revealed that just a couple of days ago, Manchin paid a secret visit to the White House to hand deliver a new framework proposal to President Biden. But before we get into that, I just want to share a quick message from the sponsor of today's video, Public.com. I'd like to take a moment to just thank my community. It's been a long journey, and I would just like to thank you guys and let my YouTube family know how much I appreciate you all for hanging out with me as I deliver all of the news that you care about: the US economy, online business ideas, stimulus package updates, stock market updates, and money news. And as we head into the new year 2022, I think that we would all like to get a little bit closer to achieving financial freedom, and I'm committed to helping all of us get there together. And today, I'd also like to thank the sponsor of this video, Public.com. We've always been told to save for a rainy day, but if you're like me, where I had barely enough money to get by and pay my bills, saving, let alone investing, seemed impossible. One big mistake that changed my life is that I only had half of the story. Saving's only the first part. No one ever got rich by just saving. Investing is where the real magic happens. Investing for the first time can feel intimidating, especially with all the new options out there, thousands of different stocks, cryptocurrency, and index funds. What the heck is that? And what should I pick? Some stocks are hundreds of dollars, even thousands of dollars just to buy one share. That's why this video, being sponsored by Public.com, is perfect for our community. With Public.com, you can actually start with as little as $1 and get slices of shares. Now, with Public.com, whether it's stocks or cryptocurrencies, anyone can afford to get in on the action. Invest in what you believe in with any amount. Never feel alone again. You can learn and invest by exchanging ideas and insights with a community of other investors from all walks of life who are investing in stocks, ETFs, as well as crypto, so you can build your confidence and your portfolio together. I've learned a lot since I opened an account on Public.com. It's even given me more confidence in my own investment decisions, as I can chat with and bounce ideas off other investors. And when you join Public.com, you can chat with me too, because I'm on there. And now you can even invest in popular cryptocurrencies. Warren Buffett, arguably the Michael Jordan of the investment world, once said, "Someone's sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago." And that makes a lot of sense when you think about it, that someone had to plant seeds into the ground one day to later benefit from the shade that a full-grown tree would produce. And the exact same thing goes for investing. Many people want to start investing, but they don't even know where to begin. When you're investing with Public.com, you're never investing alone. Get exclusive access to a growing community full of fellow investors. Public.com takes the privacy of the community very seriously. They don't participate in any payment for order flow, which is a common practice where brokerages sell your trades to third parties. Instead, Public.com routes your trades to the exchanges directly, so there's no middleman. Get the big picture with organized themes that let you move throughout the market the way you see the world. Invest with built-in educational features that help you learn as you go. How cool is that? Me personally, I always learn faster by doing versus just simply reading. And invest safely with volatility reminders that let you know when investments like crypto are a little bit riskier. Start investing with as little as $1 and get a free slice of stock up to $50 when you join Public.com today. Visit Public.com/Ron Yates to download the app and sign up using code Ron Yates. That's public.com/Ron Yates and code Ron Yates. Valid for U.S. residents 18 and over, subject to account approval. See public.com/disclosures, not investment advice. So be sure to sign up at public.com today and send me a quick hello once you do. Also, let me know what free stock you get when you sign up. I'd love to hear. I just want to thank you guys so much for supporting our sponsor today, public.com. Make sure to sign up on their website, link in the description down below. They also revealed that just a couple of days ago, Manchin paid a secret visit to the White House to hand deliver a new framework proposal to President Biden. White House officials reviewed it as a non-starter, but at least it was a start, a potential map for how to thread the policy needle to meet Manchin's red lines. After Manchin's surprise announcement, the White House statement proved to be as much of a surprise. It really just fell short of calling Manchin a liar. It also said Manchin showed, quote, a sudden and inexplicable reversal in his position and a breach of his commitments to the president, end quote. Yep, that pretty much sounds like lying to me. Now, according to one source close to the White House, Manchin was furious with the statement. All he could say about it was, quote, that was his statement. Still, they are not giving up here. Biden has said before, quote, Joe at the end has always been there. He's always been with me, end quote. White House officials were privately optimistic that Manchin could eventually return to the table and strike a deal. But what do you guys think on this one? Could Manchin just be playing hardball here? Drop me a quick comment down below. Now, here are two ways of looking at this, depending upon whether Manchin is operating in good faith. One reading of Manchin's comments, the bill is toast. That's what most other channels are saying, and it's perfectly clear why. Manchin seemed to have had a lot of non-negotiables in his statement. For instance, he argued that Biden should be focusing on inflation, the Omicron variant, and the geopolitical uncertainty rather than this bill. He also wasn't a fan of clean energy, one of the main pillars of the bill. In his statement, he said the U.S.'s clean energy transition was already happening, and he worried that the bill would push it, quote, at a rate faster than technology or the markets allow, leading to potentially, quote, catastrophic consequences for American people, end quote. Same with the White House statement that they basically burned Manchin by pointing out how just a few days ago, Manchin presented his own proposal that, quote, we believed could lead to a compromise acceptable to all. The suggestion here is that Manchin has been negotiating in bad faith and that he may be looking for a pretext to kill the bill. Now, according to this one analysis, the scorching tone of the White House statement itself seems to also indicate that they no longer view Manchin as a trustworthy or reliable negotiating partner. Going public with such criticism against a same party senator whose vote you need is highly unusual and may suggest the White House holds little hope of reviving the bill at this point. Now, here's another way of looking at this. A deal is still possible. Manchin could just be playing a game of very hardball here. Now, according to this, perhaps Manchin's announcement is meant to serve as a bucket of cold water in progressives' faces, just to make them finally realize that either they go along with the major structural changes to the bill that Manchin wants, or they get nothing. He could also just be milking the attention for all it's worth. I mean, he has been Mr. Popular in the front page of all the newspapers lately. One prediction could be that Manchin is deliberately sinking the big liberal bill in a high-profile way to establish his brand as an independent, but will eventually work on and support his own compromise bill, pretty much like he did with the voting rights bill earlier this year. Now, if this were the case, it's really a matter of Manchin's demands seriously and scaling down Build Back Better. Now, one option some Democrats are looking at is calling Manchin on his bluff by putting Build Back Better bill to a vote right here and now. That's what Senator Bernie Sanders is saying in his latest statement. According to Bernie, quote, if Senator Manchin wants to vote against the Build Back Better Act, he should have the opportunity to do so with a floor vote as soon as the Senate returns, end quote. He really lets Manchin have it here. Quote, he should have to explain to West Virginians and the American people why he doesn't have the courage to stand up to powerful special interests and lower prescription drug costs, expand Medicare to cover dental, hearing, and eyeglasses, continue the $300 per child direct monthly payment that has cut child poverty by over 40% and address the devastating impacts of climate change, end quote. In a recent interview, Bernie also talked about Manchin's arrogance and how this is just not right.
But let me just say this, and I hope everybody in America understands it. You got 50 people in the Republican caucus. We have gotten no support from them to lower the cost of prescription drugs, to expand Medicare, to include dental, hearing, eyeglasses. No support from them for child care, for housing, which is all in this Build Back Better plan. No support to deal with the existential threat of climate change. So you got 50 Republicans who are not prepared to do anything for the environment of working families. You got 48 people in the Democratic caucus who are prepared, and a president of the United States prepared to think big. And you have 2 Democrats who, in my view, are kind of acting like Republicans. And to me, I respect other people's points of view, but I do not respect the arrogance of any member of the Senate who says, you know what, I'm going to torpedo this entire bill, supported overwhelmingly by the American people who are sick and tired of paying outrageously high prices for prescription drugs, sick and tired of seeing billionaires not paying their fair share of taxes, tired of seeing people sleeping out on the street, kids and families not being able to enjoy decent quality childcare at an affordable cost. And you got two people who say, you know what? Hey, if you don't do it my way, I don't care what the president wants. I don't care what 48 of my colleagues want. It's my way or the highway. And that I regard as arrogance. You can disagree. Look, I have disagreements, as you well know. All right, you fight for your ideas, but you don't say my way or the highway. And that I feel very strongly about.
Well, we'll see where we end up, whether we're on the highway or not. Senator Bernie Sanders headed to Battle Creek, Michigan tomorrow. Thank you for making some time with us before you depart. Appreciate it.
Two Democrats cannot torpedo a bill supported overwhelmingly by the American people. I do not respect that kind of arrogance, end quote. How many of you guys agree with Bernie here on that one? Democrats are all up in arms over Manchin's statement. Representative Ilhan Omar called it a whole lot of bull. Her exact tweet said, quote, let's be clear, Manchin's excuse is bull. The people of West Virginia would directly benefit from child care, pre-Medicare expansion, and long-term care, just like the Minnesotans. This is exactly what we warned would happen if we separated Build Back Better from infrastructure. Representative Cori Bush doubled down on this one and said, quote, we have been saying this for weeks that this would happen, and we took the hits. We were told that we were anti our caucus, we were anti-democracy, and we were anti this and that. When actually, what we were, and what we still are, is pro the people, because the people have to be first. The people have to win. And so what we have here was a bit of leverage, which was having the coupling of the two bills, the BIF, the infrastructure package, as well as the Build Back Better Act. Having those coupled together was the only leverage we had. And what did the caucus do? We tossed it. You know, and for me, it's really sad. Bush was the House representative who personally stayed for days on the Congress steps to fight for the eviction moratorium way back in the day. Well, when I say back in the day, several months back. Now, I definitely think that she's got the people's best interests at heart here. Representative Ayanna Pressley is also making a stand here, quote, we cannot allow one lone senator from West Virginia to obstruct the president's agenda, to obstruct the people's agenda. All I want for Christmas is a senator that has compassion for the American people and not contempt, end quote. That's right, guys. Christmas is right around the corner, and a lot of deadlines and cliffs are coming up for the Democrats to deliver on their promises big time. Two senators just announced that they tested positive for the pandemic virus. These are breakthrough cases. Senators Elizabeth Warren and Cory Booker announced on Sunday that they have tested positive for the pandemic virus despite being fully vaccinated. Warren made her announcement on Twitter around 4 p.m. saying, quote, I regularly test for the virus, and while I tested negative earlier this week, today I tested positive with a breakthrough case. Thankfully, I am only experiencing mild symptoms, and I am grateful for the protection provided against the serious illness that comes from being vaccinated and boosted, end quote. Booker announced later in the day that he also tested positive for the virus after experiencing symptoms of the virus on Sunday. Quote, my symptoms are relatively mild, Booker said. I'm beyond grateful to have received 2 doses of the vaccine, and more recently, a booster. I'm certain that without them, I would be doing much worse. I guess there's no way to really know that for sure, but that's what he says. Events are also canceling left and right. What they're talking about now is whether there's going to be a Times Square New Year's Eve celebration. You know, the big old ball drop? The ball may not drop this year. Who knows? New York City Mayor de Blasio, he said that he will make a decision on the fate of the event by Christmas Day. New York reported a record high of 21,027 new virus-related cases this week, which is most occurring in New York City. Governor Kathy Hochul said that the cases were, quote, a reminder that the pandemic is not over yet, and we must take extra care to keep ourselves and each other safe, end quote. Experts are saying that this Omicron variant will peak around mid-January.
Let's turn to Andy Slavitt, former senior advisor to President Biden's response. Andy, thank you. Cases are obviously taking off, positivity rates doubling in just days. What's your outlook on when maybe this peaks?
I talked to a dozen scientists or so in the last couple of days, and the consensus seems to be forming around the third week in January. So that's both good news and bad news. The good news is there may be evidence that this comes at us very fast and leaves equally as fast. That would be the good news. The bad news is in that short period of time, as you reported, Chet, the hospitals are going to face very significant demand, both from the Delta wave, the Omicron wave coming on top of it, as well as everything else people need. So we got to be very careful this Christmas and holiday season not to be among them.
But Andy, putting on my Captain Obvious hat, people aren't locking down again. They're not going to cancel Christmas, even if some people want them to. And if someone hasn't gotten vaccinated in the last year, I mean, who in the world thinks they're going to go do it now? Given all of those truths, how do you balance making policy with the reality that people are just tired of this and dug in?
Well, you're actually right. This is a point in time when people are either disbelieving or just plain tired, and people don't want to put their lives on hold. The good news is, unlike last year, we have a lot of tools that allow people to be able to get together with their families. We have rapid at-home tests. We have booster shots. So we have very good tools. The problem is people need to use those tools. If they don't use those tools, then they're putting themselves at risk. And that's just, you got to keep in front of people and keep reminding people that they're taking some amount of risk both in getting sick and in being part of the spread. But we've come a long way in a year, make no doubt about it. A year ago, we'd be talking about some binary outcomes: shut down, stay open. Today, we have lots of ways to stay safe.
Thank God. You know, this administration has had almost a year to get testing right. They have not gotten testing right. There is no place in Lower Manhattan that I could find today that has any rapid test. The lines for the regular tests are around the block and down the street. Hundreds of people. It is frightening to look out. Why is this still a problem? Why can't we get this right?
Well, we have a virus now that's spreading at about 3 times the rate of even Delta, which spread at almost twice the rate of the 2020 version. At some point in time, that's just a lot of people. That's going to overload every part of the system. Testing, hospitals, nursing staff, nursing shortages. These things are going to be very, very beleaguered. So I think we're going to be continuing to see this for some period of time. And when I was in the White House, I think the best thing to be able to do is to level with people and let people know that, there's no possible way if we end up with 1 million cases a day of Omicron,
Is that what you think?
some people are suspecting, that as a country,
Is that what you think, Andy? 1 million cases a day? Is that what's ahead of us?
That's certainly some of the projections. Remember now, we're seeing a doubling every 2 to 3 days of this, and so the question is, at what point does it reach limits? But if you have, to put that in perspective, if you have 100,000 cases at Christmas, you have 400,000 cases on New Year's. Yeah. So if the math works out the way that it's trending, we have real serious issues. Now, no one can predict that for sure.
Yeah, let's hope not. Andy Slavitt, thanks so much.
That's also near when the student loan pause expires and people would have to restart payments again. They're calling it a student loan cliff. Senator Elizabeth Warren said, quote, "This is going to be a hard blow to people who have struggled throughout this pandemic. It's the wrong move," end quote. Warren, together with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Representative Ayanna Pressley, wrote a letter to Biden saying that the failure to postpone student loan payments beyond February 1st, 2022 collectively will strip 18 million Americans of $85 billion. So far, there have been various proposals to postpone the restart of federal student loan payments to March 31st, 2022 and September 30th, 2022. Just last week, a group of senators said that there should be no federal student loan payments until the pandemic is over, but didn't specify a date. Citations over the US vaccine mandate could begin around that time too. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration said it could start issuing citations to companies as soon as January 10th for failure to comply with the nationwide mandate that they either vaccinate or test regularly for the pandemic for the virus. OSHA said it would not cite companies for any kind of non-compliance with the rule before January 10th. Now, quote, "to provide employers with sufficient time to come into compliance," end quote. OSHA also said citations around the virus testing would not begin before February 9th. This applies to businesses with at least 100 workers and covers 80 million American workers. Definitely lots of things happening here. Biden is set to have a big speech this week about Omicron and how we're going to handle it. He may touch on all of this plus the Build Back Better bill in his speech. So far, the expectations are, quote, "at POTUS, will announce new steps the administration is taking to help communities in need of assistance while also issuing a stark warning of what winter will look like for Americans that choose to remain unvaccinated. We are prepared for the rising case levels, and at POTUS, will detail how we respond to this challenge," end quote. Now that's coming from White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki. I definitely feel like Biden is about to go and talk about so much more than that. So let's watch out for that in our coming updates, guys. I definitely feel my stimulus sense is tingling here. So I hope you guys caught all the hot buzz in today's stimulus package update and daily news update, our fresh take on Manchin's plans, the Omicron situation, and President Biden's big speech plan for later this week. Definitely a lot to tune in for in our next updates, and I'll see you guys there. Till then, and I'll see you guys there. Till then, and I'll see you guys there.